this happened in 2 years, and this is the exact plan. This is Muskonomics, this libertarian, cut all social services. We're so smart. We're going to fix everything. And now the United States of America is bailing out Argentina, and you have people whose social services have been cut. And it seems like every single time I turn around, Pumps, this administration puts Israel 1st, and it puts Argentina first. And you have a bunch of Americans who voted for this man, who live in rural America, that they voted for him because they think he loves the country and he thought he was going to help them. And he lied to them. He lied his ass off to these people. They were nothing but a transactional vote for him. Meanwhile, their hardworking dollars are going to Israel to kill kids and to Argentina because they elected a dipshit.
Well, and it just, all we hear about is that rural hospitals are closing. Younger people can't buy a house. We've got people on social services because they work full time, but the minimum wage is so low. And I look at this and I think, if we don't have money to fund education or hospitals or Social Security, we're taking money that people put into the government and we're saying they can't have it back, then where are you getting the money to bail out a foreign country? If you can't help your own citizens, why are you doing it to other people? And then I think it's because they don't give a shit. They don't care.
Yes. And Kylie, put up the Midas Touch tweet. MAGA told us over and over again that Milei was bringing prosperity to Argentina. They used MAGA propaganda machine to highlight his austerity politics as a model for the U.S. Now that the outcome has been devastating, they are making the United States bail out their failed experiment. End wokeness in 2023, when Milei was running for president, all he had to do was stand next to a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, because that hits hard in MAGA. And End Wokeness tweets, "Holy shit, Argentina just elected Javier Milei as their next president. History has been made today." And Elon Musk says prosperity is ahead for Argentina. We're 2 years, a year and a half behind them right now, you guys. Elon Musk went into the federal government and they did this exact same thing. The big, beautiful bill is this exact same thing. So then that leaves me the question, who's going to bail us out? Because last time I checked, everybody hated us because Kanks is so unlikable.
Right. I mean, no one's going to bail us out. They're going to celebrate the fall of the United States, and Trump, we are the 7th bankruptcy that he had. I mean, look at the dollar. Look at all the financial indicators. You're right. We are 2 years away from this, if we make it there.
All right. And then you may remember like Elon Musk with the chainsaw, and I'm taking a chainsaw, and he was all fucked up on ketamine in his sunglasses after he did the Nazi salutes.
So if there were a bailout, right, which the president is apparently considering, what would that mean?
Well, the stopgap needs to come because they've kind of painted the farmer in a corner. I mean, I want trade, not aid. I need a market. I need a place to sell this stuff. I can work hard enough and make a product. If you give me some place to sell it, I'll take care of myself. But they've painted us in a corner with this China deal and China buying no soybeans. I mean, they've tore our market in half. I mean, if you take the 4 years prior to Trump's first tariff war, the average price of a bushel of soybeans is $12.54. The average price for the 4 years during Trump's first tariff war is $9.39. That's a $163 an acre swing to the minus. The next 4 years after the tariff war, the average price is $13.59. That's a $218 upswing. Now we're back to $10.21. I think the board is today. My local elevator's $9.79. So I'm at $172 an acre loss. I mean, the farmer can't continue to produce a crop below the cost of production, and that's where we're at. And we don't have anywhere to sell it. We're in a tariff war with China. We're in a tariff war with everybody else. I mean, where do they want me to market this stuff?
So as everybody knows, we bailed Argentina out like last week, right? We sent them $20 billion, even though they were actively undercutting our own soybean farmers on U.S. soil by selling soybeans below market price to China, who hasn't bought a single soybean from the US this year. But that is just mere cliff notes to the fucking chaos. We gave the leader of Argentina $20 billion, and this is what he did. He had a concert for himself. Girl, I don't know about you, but I feel like that was an excellent way for us to spend U.S. taxpayer dollars, right? Right? What? I got nothing. What do you even say to that? Bro threw himself his own concert where he headlined. Where's Doge? I have so many questions.
Look, he ran on America First, right? I need someone to explain this to me. What did we go through the whole Doge and wasteful spending and waste, fraud, and abuse cutting if we're just going to go ahead and give $20 billion US dollars to Argentina? So this is from Heather Cox Richardson's Facebook page. The administration officials are making sure the shutdown that has put Americans out of work doesn't affect their own priorities. They have prioritized a $20 billion bailout of Argentina's failed economy as essential. So it will proceed. The bailout will help right-wing leader Javier Milei, a Trump ally. What the fuck happened to America First? But it gets worse because soybean farmers in America, right? You guys, you voted overwhelmingly for this man, and then he slaps tariffs, and China has pulled out from buying soybeans from your farms, and now your farms are at risk of closing. But to add insult to injury, Argentina's soy exports to China have soared. So he's giving a $20 billion bailout to the country that stole your business. You guys, look, we may be the evil liberal left, but we warned you that the tariffs would have overwhelmingly drastic and devastating consequences to everyone, including farmers. If you think I'm full of shit, I have extended family members who have farms that were hurt the first time during the tariffs, during his first administration. And yet you guys still ran back to him. And now he is giving a $20 billion bailout. America first. That's what they kept saying. Make America great again. Apparently, it wasn't make America great again. It was make Argentina great again. And nothing against the Argentinian people. I have friends who are Argentinian. It is not their fault. But they also voted this idiot of a man in who gave Elon Musk a golden chainsaw to ruin our government. And then this man is going to turn around with his complicit Congress and give $20 billion of American taxpayer money to this country. Meanwhile, children in America are starving in red states and blue states because 38 million Americans are at or below the poverty line. Are you guys going to admit you were wrong? I'm waiting. And look, I am not a Democrat. You can't paint me with that. I live in New Zealand. I'm an American living in New Zealand. I moved here because we have at least somewhat of a more egalitarian government and society where we have paid maternity leave, guaranteed health care for everyone, 20 free daycare hours for kids 3 to 5 years old, 4 weeks guaranteed paid vacation. America apparently is broke, but they're giving $20 billion to Argentina. Your tax dollars going to another country. And I'm not saying that the Democrats aren't partially to blame for when they give other countries money, but you cut USAID and then you give $20 billion.
Argentina is selling record-breaking amounts of soybean to China. So it looks like the commodities farmers who grew soybeans here in the United States to sell to China are going to get a bailout. They are currently engulfed in the Trump tariff and trade war with China. China did not buy those soybeans. Those soybeans are rotting in silos. They're going to get a bailout, and they were always going to get a bailout, because if it wasn't Trump and MAGA, now it was always going to be Democrats in 2027 after they flip the House in 2026. They were going to write ag bills. They were going to bail out these farmers, because Democrats and Republicans love to bail out farmers. This is a bipartisan win for them. But the real question is, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do next? Because China does not look like it's going to return as a customer, and U.S. markets do not want a flood of soybean crops, because U.S. consumers do not eat as many soybeans as they do in Asian countries. We used to have government cheese. You think we're going to have government tofu? I personally would eat that, but I doubt that's going to happen. Oh my God, now I'm thinking about government tofu and just how much MAGA conservatives would absolutely lose their minds, even though they're the ones growing that crop, but whatever. So what do you do if you're a soybean farmer? Well, you keep growing these crops, because this is all you know. An Iowa farmer was recently interviewed, and he said as much. This is all I know, and this is what I want to pass down to my son. But there is no customer. The only customer is a government bailout. So essentially, you are going to keep doing everything you know. You're going to take out loans. You're going to grow your soybeans. They are not going to get sold anywhere. Maybe they would get sold pennies on the dollar, and you wait again for Trump to sign you another check. The farmer even called it a vicious cycle. But instead of pivoting, all they can do is keep asking for the bailout, because this is all they know. And before you judge a farmer on this, just know that your job is also probably futile, but you're getting paid, so you keep doing it. Many of us are in jobs like that. We know we're not making an impact. We know that we're not making a difference, but hey, we're still getting a payday, so we'll do it. The only way this cycle ever gets broken is if farmers pivot, which it doesn't sound like they're going to do, or the billionaires win and actually just buy up these farms and say no more subsidies. Because I will tell you one thing, Democrats will always bail out farmers. They will never not do that. The cycle will be broken only on the Republican and MAGA conservative side.
Did you hear? Us soybean farmers, we're going to get $15 billion. Let's just have a party and celebrate, right? No, let me explain why I, as a soybean farmer, don't care for any of these government programs, whether it's the current bailout being discussed, or will be if the government ever reopens, who cares, or the supplemental disaster relief program, or whatever other one-off program that the government comes up with to bail out the farmers. It's not us asking for it. The farmers that I know and talk to and see on social media aren't the ones that want these programs. Let me explain. If you rely on farmers to do business, you probably want the farmers to have money, right? The agricultural input industry has a massive lobby in the United States, and they're the ones pushing for this program. If you're an equipment manufacturer, you're a seed company, you're a chemical manufacturer, you're a fertilizer supplier, heck, if you're a big landowner, you need the farmers to have money to buy your products. It's not us that wants it. This is all coming from the ag input suppliers trying to keep their prices artificially higher so that they can make their money, and the farmers will be the ones that take the fall if they got the bailout. You think the government is going to write a check to the manufacturer of this green combine? No, not a chance. But if they write thousands of checks to the farmers and then we go and spend our money with them, they can charge $750,000 for a tractor instead of being reasonable, right? Same thing with the seed companies. Why are we paying $300 a bag for seed corn? Well, because we can, apparently, and they know that we can. If the government would stay out of these things and not give away this kind of money on a large scale, everything would be better off for the farmers. Now, I know some of you are already typing, well, just don't take the money, right? Wrong. That doesn't work. Because if I stand on principle and say we aren't going to take this money, but they give it to everybody else, all of my inputs are still way up here. They're still high, right? It still costs me a huge amount for equipment, for fertilizer, for seed, for all of the other things that we have to buy. And all of my neighbors now have that money. Neighbors meaning the guy next door, the farmers in Iowa, halfway across the country. They can all afford to do it because they took the government payout, the government bailout money, and I didn't. Either nobody gets it or everybody does. The government should not pick winners and losers. I don't like any of it, but I can't just not take it. You guys with me? Am I right or wrong here? You can tell me if I'm wrong.
So let me get this straight. Taco tanks the economy on purpose. He implements tariffs that aren't good for us at all. Also, he can profit, which then in turn destroys agriculture and farms, their whole economy, especially the soybean industry, which then hands the soybean industry over to Argentina, because that's now where China is getting their soybeans from, and then tells Argentina, by the way, glad you could take our soybean industry off of our hands. Here's $20 billion. The fuck? And now we're going to bail out the farmers, and he's acting like he's like some kind of fucking savior. It's a fucking Ponzi scheme.
I'm going to show you a perfect example of media malpractice. It's this CNN clip where this soybean farmer is talking about how bad things are right now. Watch.
In a difficult farm economy, and then the trade war started, and that's taking things from bad to worse. And now our biggest export customer, China, has not purchased any soybeans from this year's crop. That equates to about 25% of the whole American soybean crop this year. And we desperately need that market. And unfortunately, we're in a standoff right now.
And this is why it's frustrating. That farmer never once said who started the trade war that tanked his industry, not once. And that's not even the worst part. Just look at this damn cryon. Trump considering $10 billion bailout for American farmers. Real damage directly tied to Trump's own decisions is happening, and the media sanitizes it. And they're giving him credit for slapping a bandage on a wound he inflicted. And reporters keep doing these interviews without asking the one question that actually matters. Who did you vote for? Because if that person voted for the guy who started the trade war, bailed out Argentina's farmers, and undercut their ability to turn a profit, don't you think it's relevant to ask if they vote for Trump again? I don't think the media is going to start asking the question anytime soon, but I think it's crucial because if you're complaining about getting burned after voting for fire, but don't directly blame it, chances are you'd vote the same way if given the chance.
After purchasing 2.27 million tons of soybeans, the U.S. quickly responded, Argentina must not be allowed to align with China. So why has this soybean order garnered so much attention? What will Argentina do in light of the U.S.'s stance? On September 22nd, the Argentine government announced the suspension of soybean export taxes. Chinese companies immediately placed additional orders, purchasing over 2.27 million tons in just 2 days, a record high. And a few days later, the U.S. demanded that Argentina cancel its currency swap agreement with China. The reason is easy to understand. For the past 20 years, China has been the largest buyer of U.S. soybeans, and Midwestern farmers are heavily dependent on the Chinese market for their income. However, since the trade war, China has gradually shifted its soybean purchases to Brazil and has now increased its purchases from Argentina, undoubtedly putting pressure on U.S. farmers. According to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, nearly 2 weeks into the new marketing season, China has yet to purchase a single shipload of U.S. soybeans, marking the first time since 1999. With U.S. farmers experiencing backlogs in their warehouses during harvest season, China's large order has become a major signal for the global soybean market.
What about China, if I could? So China has not made one soybean purchase this year to the United States. I talked to a farmer yesterday who has about 1,000 acres in Iowa and says this is just killing her. Now, the president has been talking to President Xi. Could China not buying agriculture affect a possible meeting with the president? Would he not meet with Xi because China has refused to buy soybeans from the U.S.?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president and make a determination on that from this podium, but what I can tell you is that supporting America's farmers and doing what's best for them is at the top of the president's priority list, and it's at the top of the list for this administration right now. There have been several very high-level meetings on this very topic. We want to help our farmers, and we're exploring the best ways to do that, and I would anticipate there will be more to come on that very soon.
You can send a message to the Chinese president.
Look, I just shared that message. The president wants what's best for America's farmers.
Well, dudes, wanted to pop in real quick and do a little quick soybean rundown on soybeans, because I don't think you guys are hearing the truth, or at the very least, you're not hearing the full story, and it's really starting to chat my ass. soybean sales, soybean export sales, right? All you hear about is China and the lack of business and all of these other things and how terrible it is. And I really, really appreciate my friend Garrett Tway. I will call him my friend. He may not call me his friend. I always worry about that with anyone. But in any event, Garrett puts together great resource. There's a great research and really kind of tallies stuff up. And I use it a lot to make me look smarter than what I really am. And so if you can, if you haven't, reach out to it's Ag Trader Talk. And you can get some really great additional resources or research that you aren't going to see in a lot of other places. But anyway, enough with that. He put out this morning something that I've been trying to compute for a hot minute. And it's harder to do because you can't get the FAS data out from the government with it being shut down. But he basically said the math is simple. Last year's soybean commitments were 50.79 million metric tons. Of that, the rest of the world exports were 28.31 million metric ton, and China accounted for 22.5. Now, you've seen a lot of conversation about China accounting for like 27 to 30 million metric tons of soybean exports. That was in 2023, 2022, 2023. That wasn't last year. In 1819, soybean commitments were 49 million metric ton, basically, of which the rest of the world took around 35 million metric tons. China took 14 million. Assuming the USDA right now with their exports where they're sitting, basically they're anticipating 46 million metric tons. So we're down a couple million metric ton from the last time we had the trade war. Rest of the world, remember, world soybean demand is up substantially from the last time that we had the trade war. So the USDA is already anticipating a reduction in exports versus trade war number one, accounting for the big jump in Brazil production, South American production as a whole. Now, fast forward to this year, assuming the USDA has exports right now at 1.685 million metric tons. That means basically they are factoring in already around a 10 million metric ton reduction in China purchases. So they're factoring in a big loss in China business already. Basically, they're looking at factoring in China at around 13 million metric tons of export sales at this moment in time. That's almost exactly what China needs to buy to cover the rest of the year. Now, remember, I've said this a million times. Brazil and Argentina do not have the ability to cover the rest of China's needs through January until harvest gets here. And so China's eventually going to have to show up. Now, could they do it? Could we wait another 3 or 4 weeks to see them do it? Sure. But at the same time, they're going to risk that once this bean crop is put away, it's going to be real hard to get it back out. And so if you need beans shipped in November, you might be straight up screwed if you think you're going to get them bought at these current basis levels. And so the biggest thing to me in all of this is this belly aching, this whining from American Soybean Association that China accounts for 25% of our export book. They don't. I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around why your industry folks aren't talking about all of the changes in the overall market structure since the last time we were down this road. First off, we're expected to crush almost 2.7 billion bushels of soybeans. Crush this year's 2.6 billion bushels. 2.5555 billion bushels is what the U.S. is going to crush for soybeans this year. The last trade war, basically prior to this year, North Dakota could only crush around 6% of their total exports. Of their total production, they needed exports. As of the end of this year, going into this kind of current marketing year here, North Dakota has the capacity to process 47% of their crop. Yes, they still have to export bushels. They're going to have to. But if as a merchandiser, you can't make $1.20 under the November basis work for you down the road to put beans away, then you're not doing your job. You're not doing what you need to be doing. The margin's in the hustle and you're fucking off. That's it. So this whole entire idea that the U.S. soybean farmer is beholden to China buying, no. China accounts for 15% of our overall demand total. If we were to focus on things that actually matter, if we were to focus on getting the administration maybe to solidify its biofuel policy, and focus on building trade with other folks that are increasing their biofuel policies, we wouldn't need China. But instead, we're so focused on them, all we do is tell the world how soybeans should be valued at zero because we have no demand. It's bullshit. Ask Chekhov for your money back. I don't know how American Soybean Association is funded, but it's ridiculous. All of this. I'll be back later.
Breaking news. This is breaking news. Soybean farmers, you're feeling it. That's right. The ongoing trade war and the tariffs that you love Donald Trump for is costing you money. China ain't bought no soybeans from us this year. And you know who's the biggest receiver of our soybeans that we export to? It's China. That's right. So this soybean season for farmers is down. You're going to lose a whole lot of money. And remember, the U.S. ain't waiting on y'all soybeans. We're going to Argentina for them. That's right. China then went a different direction because you believe in Donald Trump and them tariffs. And it is crushing your crops, your harvest, your money, your finances, and your loans. Now, I don't report the news, but soybean farmers are mad. You mad at Trump or you mad at the tariffs? No, you're mad at yourself. You voted for a party who didn't care about you. Now you ain't gonna get no grants, no loans, and your soybeans will go to waste because China ain't buying them bad boys. That means we're gonna pay more for everything. Oh, I just told you. Follow your boy for more about soybeans, farmers, tariffs, Donald Trump, government shutdown, and why farmers gonna be mad for a very, very, very long time. You know what I'm gonna say? Come on, y'all. Let's go.
So this might be an unpopular opinion. I might lose some followers for this. I don't know. I just want to say it. The far left that's crying about Trump, so-called quote-unquote bailing out us farmers. He's not bailing us out. I mean, technically he is, but everybody's blaming the soybean prices on tariffs. Tariffs is why the beans are so low. Tariffs is why the beans are so low. Rewind back to 2020 when Biden beat Trump in the 2020 elections. You can do your research on this. Soybean prices were $15.80 when Trump left office and Biden took place. Fast forward 4 years, 2024. Trump beats Biden. Or should I say Kamala, which was Biden's puppet anyway. Trump beats her. Soybean prices are $9.50, $10. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out why soybean prices are where they're at. It's because the 4 years of us under the Biden administration drove our input cost, through the roof. It is insane what a ton of fertilizer is. Price of chemical cost, price of fuel, price of equipment, price of parts, price of labor, price of everything. It's just astronomical numbers. That's why we can't make money at $10 soybeans, because the cost of everything has gone through the roof. It takes at least $13 for us to really even put $1 in our pocket. I'm not the one crying about the tariffs. It's the far left that is crying, saying it's because of the tariffs is the reason Trump is having to bail us farmers out. I don't get where these people that's on the far left, where they get their logical thinking. It just makes no sense to me. But for the record, if it wasn't for us farmers, most of y'all will be walking around naked and hungry. So, take it for what you want. That's my 2 cents. Y'all have a good day.
China typically buys more than half of U.S. soybean exports, but it hasn't purchased a single American soybean this year. It's an act of retaliation for President Donald Trump's tariffs on imports of Chinese goods. President Trump's trade war is hitting Ohio's 26,000 soybean farmers particularly hard in the form of surging costs and sagging crop prices.
Farmers are already in probably the most challenging economic situation they've been in many years.
Adding insult to injury, Argentina recently moved to capture soybean market share by reducing taxes on its soybeans. Soon after, President Trump lent the country $20 billion to help ease its economic problems, as a favor to the prime minister, a political ally.
Not arguing with the right or wrong of that policy, but we were disappointed in the timing of that, certainly, that at the same time, Argentina and China are doing an end run on our soybean farmers. The government's going to use tax dollars to bail out Argentina.
Democrats see a chance to turn that disappointment into votes next year in farm counties that USDA data shows voted 78% for Donald Trump last year. Former Senator Sherrod Brown this week visiting a farm in central Ohio to call for more assistance for farmers.
Partly because of tariffs, partly because of these markets drying up, partly because their tax dollars going to Argentina. It's too much to ask a farmer to just wait.
Brown called for Republican Senator John Husted to push the Trump administration for a trade deal with China. Husted responded in a statement, "My record shows that I support Ohio's farmers and consumers. I voted for the working family tax cuts, which allows farmers and job creators to immediately expense investments in new factories, capital investments in machinery and equipment, and in research and development, all of which Democrats opposed." President Trump this week suggesting a bailout package for soybean farmers of at least $10 billion, though a formal plan was postponed due to the government shutdown. The White House wrote in a statement, President Trump, Secretary Bessent, and Secretary Rollins are always in touch about the needs of our farmers who played a crucial role in the president's November victory. No decisions have been made, but we look forward to sharing good news soon. Though many farmers say they would prefer to sell their crops than get a bailout, it may be enough to keep them satisfied with the president's trade policies. A Purdue University poll found in September, tariff concerns were largely offset by expectations that the government will help compensate farmers for losses, with 51% of farmers expecting tariffs would strengthen the U.S. agricultural economy in the long run. In Washington, Harry Lee, Spectrum News.
So the Trump administration gives Argentina $20 billion in aid. And what do? They turn around and start selling soybeans to China. This is the type of Trump cronyism you get with Trump spending and wasting taxpayer dollars. Share your thoughts below and follow me for more.
Them tariffs backfired, boy. China not buying soybeans from us no more. Like, that's such a serious thing. Soybeans are our second largest crop besides corn. And China is the largest importer of soybeans. Like, they buy 60% of the world's soybean production. It's crazy. And do you understand how we fumbled this bag? Because of the tariffs, right? China's just not buying from us this year at all. And how many? It was, we have 515,000 soybean farms, or like farms that deal with soybean production, right? That's 1 in 4 farms in America. 1 in 4. And now and guess what? Wait. We were selling $12 to $14 billion of soybeans to China. It's like 32 metric tons, right? And what's crazy, China said, fuck y'all. And they now buy from Brazil and Argentina. They're like, nah, we're just not going to buy from y'all no more. And I just would like to point out that China is 2,200 years old, right? Like, they're older than Jesus, nigga. Like, they're older than Jesus. So why would we play with them? Like, if they're not going to buy this year, they're not going to buy next year. Once they secure this need, they won't need us anymore. So, like, farmers in America are going to be expecting a bailout. And I'm so curious of what America's going to do, because, like, where's all this big money coming from? Like, how are we going to solve that? Like, yo, oh my God. You know, Haitians have a word when you get bad news, which is like, whoosh. And this is that moment. Whoosh.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.